What's up, friends? It's another episode of The Mindful CEO here today with our friend, as always, Aaron Hendon. Hello, good sir.
Good afternoon or morning. Is it morning? It's morning. Well, I don't know when people are listening. What the fuck? I don't know anything. Good morning.
Your spirit never sleeps.
All right, there you go.
Yeah,
Rock
man.
and roll.
What's up?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, it's good. Life is good. Life is very good. I got 4 websites done over the weekend, which is mind blowing to me.
Is that all?
I know. I know. I did all this stuff. So very excited about the opportunity. Um, And then this week we've got Martin Salama on with us, who is a gentleman I met a year ago on a website called Podmatch, and he's got a great coaching business and a really fantastic model and guarantee, which I just fell in love with. And he's from Brooklyn, so forget
Well,
about it.
there you go.
Forget
Yeah,
about
forget
it.
about it.
Martin, he's going to introduce himself. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Good to see you both, Aaron and Chris. It was good to meet you for the first time today. And
Yeah.
I'm excited to be here with you guys.
Yeah, tell us about you. Give us some backstory so people listening have a relationship to like who you are in the world.
Sure. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life, but for most of the life, we didn't call ourselves entrepreneurs. We call ourselves businessmen. I don't know when this word became such the the
That's
word
good.
at the time. Now we're all entrepreneurs. I think I'd like to go back to like a wonderful time in our lives in 2008. Remember that time?
Yeah, I remember that time.
That
Yeah.
time.
So my wife and I were working on a project for about 5 years leading up to 2008 down by the Jersey Shore. I was living by the shore then, to build a multi-million-dollar health club and tennis center. And it took us 5 years because we were going through the whole process of finding the right spot, making sure it was feasible. Once we did that, getting the architect and the engineer and finding the right land. And after all that, going to the town and saying, okay, we want to do this. And they're like, okay, you have to do this, you have to do that, and doing everything they want us to do. And they come in and they tell us, oh yeah, now we want you to go and do a civil engineer. Get a civil engineer, make sure that the parking is okay. What's the traffic impact going to be? And every time it's setting us back. And we're going to the bank, and the bank is like, yeah, we love this project. We can't wait for you to get going. This was 2005, 6, 7. And
Wow.
the banks were lending money almost like when you go to Costco.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And the ladies at the end are giving you the samples.
Yes.
That's how they were lending the money. Oh, yeah, here it is.
Wow.
Refinanced my house a few times over those years,
Right.
which a lot of that was to help fund the program, fund the project. So here we are. It's the summer of 2008, and the city finally gives us all the sign-offs. And I'm about $3.5 million into this project, which would be a $15 million, 100,000 square foot plus build out. And we go to the bank and they go, yeah, we're not lending right now. I'm like, what are you talking about? The last years, you're telling me you can't wait. Well,
Right.
things are slowing down. Little did I know what was coming up in the horizon in September, just a month later. Bernie Madoff, subprime loans. And just like that, the financial world was turned upside down. And so was I.
Wow.
I lost everything. And $3.5 million later, I was depressed. Didn't know what was going to happen tomorrow. And thank God I didn't throw myself out a window, to be honest.
Right. Yeah. No kidding.
Yeah. So here I am thinking what's going to happen next. And I stopped paying my mortgage, stopped paying my car payments. A few months later, my son says, Dad, look outside. They were towing away the BMW. That was the first time I ever got repossessed. First and last time I ever got repossessed.
Yeah,
Not a fun thing for my 18-year-old son to have to remind me about every once in a while. Dad, remember when they took your BMW? Yeah, I do. I really remember that. Thanks for reminding me.
Quit bringing it up. Yeah.
Thanks for bringing it up. But anyway, so it was a tough time. And I was depressed for about a year. And I went through this depression saying, what the hell is going to happen next? And I happened to live in New Jersey, right? There was so many foreclosures that even though they foreclosed, it took them years until they finally remembered about that guy who had that house.
Right.
And one of my lawyers told me that's because they'd rather have you in it than try to sell it at low equity value.
That's true. I mean, as a realtor, I teach that in my first time buyer classes. I'm like, look, it's not a strategy, but the truth is a landlord's going to kick you out way before the bank's going to kick you out. If things turn to shit and you can't make rent or you can't make mortgage, you would rather not make mortgage because a landlord's going to get you out of there way before the bank is going to get you out of there.
Yeah, it's the truth. I mean, of course, it's no way to live. It's no way
No,
to
it's not a
be.
strategy. It's just a
No,
fact.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I remember my wife packing up the house and putting everything in the garage for that day. I'm like, even when it happens,
Right.
you're going to get a paper on the door in New Jersey that says 30 days, and you have another 30 days after that.
Right.
Well, things weren't going so well for us at the time. We were just not in the right place together. And it took me about a year to get out of this depression. And I was doing odd jobs at the time, saying, okay, what am I going to do next? And one day I woke up, I said, well, what do I love to do? I could reinvent myself.
Mm.
And I realized I had been involved in community events my whole life. I was always a leader. And as a leader, the people come in and they go, well, I can't do what you're doing. I'm like, but I don't need you to do what I'm doing. I want you to do what you're good at. Well, I
Mhm.
don't know what I'm good at. I'd sit down and talk to them. And I realized I was coaching them to what their potential was. And they'd get involved and they would really make great impact. I was the founder of the first synagogue in Eatontown, New Jersey.
Wow.
This was back in the 90s, early 90s. And, on Saturday, I'd be knocking on the doors. We need 10 guys. And now there's over 400 families there. They're about to finish an expansion there. So it's wonderful to know that, some of the things I've done personally,
Yeah.
in my life as an impact. So I said, okay, maybe I should become a coach. So I went down the road of looking into coach training, found an unbelievable school, went to them and said, I can't afford to pay. They said, oh, well, can you get your financing? I'm like, yeah, nobody's going to give you financing, but let's make a number right now that I'll pay you every month. And we'll go from there. And the guy said, yep, I hear you. Let's do it. He says, but you're not getting your certification until you paid off. That's fair.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's totally fair. And I went through the process and I paid off in time and I got my certification. And when I got out of that, I was like, okay, what do I want to do next? But let me go back a minute. 2 months before I was ready to start, my 24th wedding anniversary, and I got a very interesting gift for my wife that year. She said, I want a divorce.
Mm.
Oh.
Yeah. Thinking about it now, the 364 other days she could have asked me that.
Right. Happy anniversary. Yeah.
Happy anniversary. And I didn't get her anything like that.
Yeah.
But looking back now, it was probably the best gift other than our 4 children she ever gave me.
Mm.
Because it was the kick in the pants I needed. I decided still to go to coach training. And I decided to figure out why I was showing up the way I was. And that I got through coach training.
So Martin, bring us up to so you're a coach. That's what you do now, right?
Yeah.
And I love the origin story, just how sort of you moved into that. I'm interested in what is the work that you do now? One, so that people can hear it, but I think that might be a place for us to begin to explore in the conversation here. What do you do now and why does that matter?
Yeah, such a great question. Thank you. So over the years of being a coach, which has now been in close to 15 years, I've had different iterations, different, versions of myself. When I first graduated from, got my certification, I was a divorce recovery coach. I wonder why.
Right.
And then a few years later, I transformed that because I was loving where I was in my life. And I saw so many people letting themselves say the word I can't too often that I shifted into helping people move their mindset from lack to abundance, as it were. And I came up with an acronym for the word life: live incredibly full every day. And that was the way I was helping people change their mindset and stuff like that. And I realized I kept on going into these courses to help me get my message out there, make a big impact. And if anybody's been in these coach the coaches courses, as they call them out there, they promise you the world. They say, we're going to help you. We're going to do it with you. We're going to, done for you, done with you. And what I found out is so many of them, and I'm a victim of shiny object syndrome. Oh, that's the one. Oh, squirrel. And I jump in and I pay it all only to find out it's not what I thought. So they weren't done for you. They weren't done with you. They were done to you. Right. So I said, you know what? I get it. And I was able to figure out how to get myself through this and figure out where to go. And I said, this is what I should be doing, showing other people that they have it in their mindset. They have it without having for them to pay it all up front and then say, what's happening? Where'd you go? Because I want to be with them from the beginning to the end.
Yeah. I think what I hear in this, and Aaron, jump in anytime you want, but what I hear in this is there's a real tension. We love to explore tensions on the show because I think that's where some of the wisdom shows up in life. But there's a tension between figuring out who you are, what you want to do, and then doing it, right? Like it's one thing to have an idea and a vision board. It's a whole other thing to begin to go down the road of doing the work of it.
Right.
By the way, which side note and nod to why mindfulness matters so much to me, because it's in the doing of it all that like all the fears, concerns, the breakdowns, all the things show up that if you don't have mindfulness as a tool, you can kind of give up. I mean, how many people have just don't never do the work of following their dreams? So
Yeah, you kind of self-sabotage.
yeah, so I guess that's what I'm hearing as a tension here is like there's a lot of people who really want to do something with their life, but then don't do the work about it. So
Right.
anything for you in that, Aaron?
Well, it was funny. So one of the thoughts I had, so I just got back from a 10-day retreat, Martin. Did we talk about that last week? Maybe, I don't remember.
We did a little bit with our
little bit with
statistician.
Kurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, but I really got myself in the presence of, if you do the work, you'll get the result. And if no result, no reward, period. No work, no result.
Right.
There is nothing coming if you don't do the work. And whatever the work is, this was 11 hours a day meditating. But if you don't do the work, if you don't actually sit and do the work that they're prescribing, you don't get the result. It's just how that is. And I was thinking about it, Chris, it's funny. This is, so Chris and I have been, where Chris and I met is in a program called the Landmark Forum. And, I lead programs for Landmark, and one of the things that sometimes people say, they put someone in the Landmark, they put their dad or their brother or their father or their husband or something in the Landmark Forum, or their wife or whatever. And they didn't get the result. And one place that I've never gone in that conversation is, okay, well, did they do the work? Did they do the work in the course that the leader prescribed? Did they go to get the result? Were they there? Like, I'm going to do the work and then I'll see. So many people enter an arena and like, well, let's see what shows up.
Right.
And maybe this will happen. And done to you, done for you, done with you programs. I'm also a shiny object guy, Martin, like constantly and Chris and I were just talking about marketing promises this morning, the promises marketers make about promising the world. And the underlying caveat of all of it, and people don't say it out loud, but is the part that needs to be said out loud, is if you do the work.
Yeah. It's that same thing of, I'll see it when I believe it. That's the wrong line.
Right. No,
I'll believe it. I'll believe it when I see it. It's,
right.
I'll see it when I believe it.
That's right.
I said it backwards. So
yeah,
I'll see it when I believe it.
Yeah,
If
but
you
it's
don't
not even when I
it,
believe it. It's I'll see it when I've done the work to achieve it.
Exactly.
It's not even.
How do you get that belief? By putting yourself out there and failing a bunch of times.
Exactly. That's the thing. The metaphor that I've come up with. So I teach a meditation training, and people, many people have tried meditating at some point in their life. It's rare for me to meet someone who's never attempted to meditate, but no one approaches it, and I'm sure you've found this, Martin, in the people you coach. When an adult is learning a new skill, we have a very short runway for ourselves to fail. Like when we learn to walk, or you taught your children to walk, Martin, any parent knows this intuitively. If you're not a parent, this is how you learned how to walk. It's the only way you learn how to walk is you stand up and you fall. You stand up and you fall, and you stand up and you fall. And every time you fall, your parents cheered. They cheered like you walked. Every time you stood up, they were like, look, you fall forward. And they're like, he took a step. No, he fell on his face. You fell on your face, and your parents cheered like you just won the Olympics. And you did that over and 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 over. And every time someone cheered, every time someone was on your side, and you never gave up. And we don't have that space for ourselves as adults. We are not learning how to walk when we're learning something new.
Yeah, we build into instant gratification.
Yeah, and have no space to just fall on our ass. And that's such a devastating loss to us. That's
Mhm.
so important that we reclaim that permission to learn that anything I take on newly is
Yeah.
I'm learning to walk. And you as a coach are like, oh, great, I'm your champion. That's your deal. You're like, every time they fall, you're cheering.
Yeah. And it's not just about showing up.
No.
It's okay. Once you're in the room, what are you going to do about it? Right. And that's where what we do is so important as coaches in general. And coaches in general, really their main job is to be an accountability partner. Because, when someone has a job or they're married, they're accountable to their boss. They're accountable to their wife. They're accountable to their children. And they say, I've got to answer to them. But when it comes to themselves, they'll come up with every reason not to answer. And they'll rationalize all the reasons why it's okay they didn't do what they did. Now, I've taken the word rationalize and I say it to my clients and I go, but you don't understand. You don't understand the root of the word. The root is rational lies. You're
Look at
telling
you.
yourself a lie that it's
Look at
rational not to do
you.
the things you're supposed to do.
Excellent. I am totally stealing that.
Well,
Very
it's
true, Martin.
well, I have to tell you, I've trademarked it, so be careful.
Okay, fine.
Nice.
But
That's
Well,
yeah,
yeah.
and when you hit them with that, they're like, what are you talking about? Okay, you woke up this morning and decided you're going to exercise, and then you say, yeah, I don't feel like it. Why don't you feel like it? Because you're tired? Because of whatever? But 10 minutes in, you're going to say, I'm so glad I did this. So when you don't do it, you're rationalizing why it's okay. So you're telling yourself a lie that gives you the permission not to do it.
Yeah. Reminds me
So
of
as
reasonable,
coaches,
Aaron. Being
right?
very
As coaches,
reasonable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. As
I
coaches. go
stepped
ahead.
over you a couple of times there. But
No,
as
that's
coaches,
good.
we want to be accountable. We are the accountability partner for them so that they don't rationalize.
I wonder what are some of the, if you think back, I mean, your origin story is amazing because I think, not many people get to go to that depth of like, oh my God, like, my car is repossessed, as, all the, that's a, got a divorce on your 24th anniversary. There's a lot of stuff there. So how did you, I'm just curious in your own journey of it, what your rational lies were as you were finding your way, like, and how did you overcome those rational lies?
Wow. Nobody's ever asked me that question, and it's really unbelievable. So I think for me, it was that I believed that the way I was the way I was going to be my whole life. My default tendencies were who I was, and that I couldn't change them. And when I went to that first weekend, and before I went to the first weekend, even, they said, here's a couple of books. So here's a list of books. Read one or two of them. And one of them was The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz.
Mm-hmm.
And when I read that second agreement, don't take anything personally, to me, it was as if he had just told me a secret that I've been hearing my whole life, but until that moment, I wasn't ready to hear it. And it was that I don't have to believe that everything that goes on is about me and that the world is not on me. The world is not on my shoulders. So when I went to that first weekend and they said to me, you don't have to be who you think you have to be. You could be who you want to be. They gave me permission to recognize, wait a minute, what's going on here? And I started to peel the onion, as it were, and realize that my default tendency of being somebody who was always reacting to everything, had a short temper, came because of other things that had happened in my life that made me a people pleaser. And as a people pleaser, for me, what that meant was, okay, I've got to make sure that everybody's happy. And if they're not, then I'm doing something wrong and I've got to take control. And if I'm taking control, everybody better give me the recognition for all the work I did. And when all that's not happening, then I lose it.
Yeah.
And I realized that that's where it started.
How did you get to the other side of that? So so you read the Don Miguel Ruiz Four Agreements. You thought, oh, I can be who I want to be. How did you move into this vision of who you wanted to be?
So it's great. So, I mean, a lot of that came from coach training. And that's why when I graduated, I wanted to help other coaches. I mean, other people who had gone through or going through the divorce because I understood their pain.
Yeah.
So for me, it started with me understanding, wait a minute, what do I have to come up with for me not to be a people pleaser? Because that was the root of it. Yeah. And I said, I have to learn, number one, that no is a full sentence. Mm-hmm. Right. And number two, I said to myself, I'm not going to do things for others. I'm going to take care of myself first, as long as I'm not hurting anybody in the process. And if somebody comes to me and asks me to do something, I'm going to understand, why am I doing this? Is it for me to make them happy, or is it because there's a good reason for it? And it wasn't easy. It took a long time to move that needle.
Yeah, a lot of increments and a lot of attempts is the way that shows up for people. And I think that thing about, I mean, for sure, that phenomenon of we will keep our promise to others before we'll keep our promises to ourselves is a fact, you know, the fundamental way we live as human beings. You know, so having an accountability partner like that. My wife used to have a coach that he would get paid, whatever, $1,500 a month, and she would write $1,100 checks. And every time she broke her promise, he would cash one. Like her promise for the day. Like if she didn't do everything that she said on the list, he would cash a check. And if she did everything she said, the coaching was free. It was that's how he worked. And I thought that was fucking great, you know.
Love it.
You know, just totally committed to your success. Just totally committed to your success. And if you want to pay me, you could fucking pay me. But it's really not doing, you know, there's a level at which that is a big piece of what people want. It's funny, Chris, I got a little bit of feedback on the course from a participant. And she was like, I would love a place that there was an accountability for meditating, like to be able to check it off. And I hadn't really thought about it, or I'm not going to do anything about it in this round.
She wants a 75 hard checklist.
She does. She wants a 75 hard checklist to be able to do. Yeah. We're very anti-75 hard on the show.
I'm like, oh God, they're going down that road.
No, we are not ice bath at 4 a.m. people. We are gentle and exactly. We're very, you can't, you know, that thing about learning to walk, we're just way too fucking hard on ourselves. We're just.
I got to tell you though, Aaron, about meditating. So I'm ADHD. I found that out in my 50s that I'm ADHD. And and somebody said, you got to meditate. It's real good for you. And here I am doing the headspace meditation with the great Englishman speaking in my head for 10 minutes. And it was hard for me to get through because my mind's all over the place. But in one of those sessions, I had this download of information where life came from. That word life, live incredibly full every day. When I finished meditating, I wrote for 2 hours and wrote out my program.
Yeah, well, this is Martin. I love Chris. This is that kind of confirmation from the universe that we've been talking about. Literally, Martin. We're rolling out a course for the people that have participated in my mindfulness training, and one of the things we were literally just talking about right before the show was, you know, the opportunity of meditating on a question, letting something rattle around to get a download, to get some answer from the universe, and the utility of training people to do that. Literally, that's the exact conversation we had 10 minutes before you logged on. And, you know, that just if I could offer something about you have ADHD and I get this all the time when I'm training people to meditate. Constantly. First of all, you don't know people that aren't ADHD. Whatever we call ADHD, we don't know people who are.
All right, give it to me.
You just don't. It's now one of those great excuses in life why you can't focus.
Right.
And you may be medically, and I'm not a doctor. Okay. But
do you play one on TV?
No, I don't. The common misconception about meditation, the most common misconception about meditation is that it means you're going to clear your mind of thought. And it's a devastatingly inaccurate and harmful interpretation of what meditation is. I just went to a meditation retreat. Okay, it wasn't really a retreat, it was an intensive. They call it a retreat, but there was nothing fucking retreat-like about it. You know, retreats need lounge chairs and margaritas. This was 11 hours sitting cross-legged on the floor meditating. So, but you know, for every hour that I sat with my eyes closed with the intention to watch my breath for the hour, I would think at best it was 10 minutes total. Like for the little snippets, 10 seconds here, 30 seconds here. If you added up all of the other 50 minutes, 55 minutes were just I mean, I wrote 2 hours of stand up. I have a TED talk. I have a new chapter in my book. I have all kinds of work that I got done in that 55 minutes of not meditating while I was meditating. What meditating is not clearing the mind. It's just noticing when you're not present. So that noticing, and you did it enough to get a download, so we know that it works. We know that you're meditating. You already know that you're meditating because you got information you didn't have before. Where prayer is talking to God, meditating is listening, without a doubt. There's just no,
I love that.
No other way to really contextualize that. So you know you can meditate because you got the download. It's just, can you bear with, can you be with the amount of the degree to which you have no control over your mind? Are you willing to fail that often in an hour? Really, 55 minutes of not doing it and catching myself and coming back. Are you willing to have the catching yourself and coming back and the going and the catching yourself and coming back be like bicep curls? They are as meaningful as bicep curls. You're training your brain in a particular way. And if you don't add the meaning, this is hard, or I'm not doing it right, or I have ADHD, or somehow I'm not, if you don't add that meaning and you just keep noticing it, you just notice, your brain goes here and now it's back, and now it goes here and now it's back, and now it's here and now it's back. And that's how you learned how to fucking walk. It's literally how you learned how to walk.
Thank you for that. Nobody's ever said that to me.
I know.
Meditation.
I know.
So every time I think I'm getting it fucking wrong, because why can't I control my freaking brain for 10 seconds?
You can. You really can. And maybe you can do it for 3 breaths in the and if you take short chunks, do 10 minutes a day, just really 10 minutes of meditation a day. If you just did 10 minutes and in the 10 minutes, you only caught your breath and had just focused attention on the breath, because you're even in the moments where you're focusing on your breath, you're thinking, you're having your mind go in a particular direction. It's just, you'll do 3 breaths and then the mind will go, oh, squirrel, and go down some tunnel and start being like, well, why do squirrels have bushy tails and rats have thin tails? Isn't that interesting? Look at that. They do that. And then you go, oh, wait, I'm not on my breath. Okay, now I'm back on my breath. One breath. And then, are squirrels really rodents? And then you put back and if you caught your breath 6 times in the 10 minutes, that would be great. The way you train puppies.
You meditated, just like walking, like you did it. Oh my God, you did it.
Wow.
You did it.
And if you were gentle with yourself, not 75 fucking hard with yourself. But
Right.
Like, gentle, be like, that's a win. And even the days, Martin, where you think to yourself, oh, I didn't get to meditate today. In that moment where you think, I didn't get to meditate today, in that moment you thought that, you were in fact present to a commitment. That's worth celebrating. And no one does that. And that's, people try and meditate without a teacher or on an app, and it's just fucking brutal, because the person that's doing the meditating is the person that's got the fucking problem. It's like coaching yourself. You're the worst possible coach for you.
Yeah,
You're
absolutely.
going to try and coach yourself out of your own blind spots? What the fuck does that mean?
That's great.
How's that gonna go?
Really, this has been so eye-opening for me. Thank you so much for the
welcome.
clarity you gave me on meditation, because I was like, I'm never doing it again if I'm not getting anything out of it. I'm like, my mind's
You
all
got
over.
your fucking program out of it.
I did.
How much more do you want to get? We sent you a boat, a helicopter.
Right, exactly. Oh my God,
That's
I use
great.
that metaphor all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
What the fuck do you want?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so very good. Good. I'm glad
God,
I
I
can
love
clear
that.
that up for you. So
Fantastic. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
I think that's the thing about mindfulness, gentlemen, is like, Aaron, I don't know, the amount of times that I have to, that I now find myself in some type of a beginner's mind or some type of a non-striving, like how many times in a day I will go to a practice, a bicep curl like that, right? A metaphorical bicep curl that is a mindfulness practice in a minute, in a day, to get back to center, to get back to the commitment, to get back to the doing the work to get the result. Mindfulness is, for me, the bridge to doing the work to get the result. Because otherwise, like you said, I'm off wondering if squirrels are rodents or not. I mean, so I think, and I don't know, Martin, how this plays into stuff that you do. I imagine that you probably
plays in
teach
a lot.
some form of mindfulness, even if you don't call it that, like you helping your clients get to center, get to the thing that helps them do the work that gets the result, I'm sure
Right.
that's in there somewhere.
Yeah, absolutely. As a matter of fact, I talk about it, my program, and the way I'm helping them build their program, their business, is like a three-legged stool. The
Mm.
first one is you have to have the right systems in place, right? The right nuts and bolts. And that's what they get when they first come in, the information, right? Which gets them going and understanding that, all that, whatever.
Yeah.
But the second one is you have to have the right mindset. So I give them my warrior to warrior coaching course,
Yep.
which came from, the COVID, and everybody worrying about everything. And I got onto Facebook one day. I'm like, guys, I know why you're worrying, because I've been worrying. I worried most of my life until about 10 years ago,
Mm.
when I went through coach training at the time and realized, oh, it's all in me. Worrying is asking somebody else to solve it. And concern is, okay, I got something wrong. I got to fix it. Right.
Mm.
So that's how I look at the two. So I said, I want to show you how to go from being a warrior to a warrior, and was
Nice.
putting in this. So the second one is I give them that course. And I tell them, it doesn't matter how much you believe in me, and it doesn't matter how much you believe in my course and what you're going to learn here. What matters is, what do you believe in yourself? And are you going to do the work like Aaron was talking about earlier?
Yeah.
Or you're just going to show up, right? So you got to do that part of it. And then
That's
the third leg of it is don't think you're doing this all on your own, because if you're doing it all on your own, you're missing a lot of things. So you got to learn how to become scalable.
Yep.
And I teach them about a book called Who Not How, which is by Dan Sullivan.
Yeah.
You wake up every morning and you say, how am I going to get this done? You're asking the wrong question. Who am I going to get to do this for me? Because you have to stay in your zone of genius.
That's what I love in the mindfulness space of things, which let's say mindset. In the mindset has been taught a lot, but the thing I love about mindfulness in the conversation of mindset is that mindfulness to me is really, you could treat mindset teaching like a force it. Aaron, we were talking about forcing it, right? Hustle, grind, 75 hard. You could 75 hard your mindset to death.
Yes.
Right? You'd be like, I just need to concentrate harder. I'm going to flex about my concentration and my discipline.
Yeah.
But the thing I love about mindfulness is it's gentle, it's easy. It's the path of least resistance. It's water flowing down the river rather than going upstream. So have the distinctions of mindset and treat them with a mindful approach. And I think you end up greasing the wheel a little bit better than being like, here's the principle of mindset, not let me force it. Now I think you're creating tension where there doesn't need to be tension about mindset.
100%, 100%. And for me, it starts with, I teach them in my course something called the cycle of A's. Okay.
Cycle of what?
Cycle of A's, the letter A.
Yep.
Okay. And it's literally, I put it in a cycle, in a circle. And the first one is it's based on the law of attraction, which is, you guys 10 minutes before I came on, we're talking about
we're big Esther Hicks fans here.
Yeah. Right in our lane.
Right. So the first A is ask the universe for what you want. Right. And you want to go Esther Hicks, it's the same thing there. But even if I just came up with an idea in my brain, okay, that's an ask. Right. Oh, I just came up with this great idea. And then 10 years later, you see somebody else making tons of money on an infomercial about it. I thought of that, but did you do anything about it? Right. So that's the ask. The next A is act. Do something to get it. Write down a plan, come up with an idea and do it. What am I going to do today to accomplish this goal? And the last A is where things get a little wonky with people, is you have to have the right attitude. You have to have a mindset of, I don't care about the outcome. I'm not emotionally tied to the outcome.
Of that.
Right. And if things aren't going your way, it's God or the universe or a higher power saying you need to make a course correction.
Yeah.
And don't be, oh my God, it's not. That's the lack mindset going out there. So cycle of A's is taking what you guys are talking about here and
totally. It's learning how to walk and all of it, right? Asking and it's beautiful. It's a really great distillation of all that and a really actionable kind of way of presenting it.
Exactly.
Yeah, I love that. Really,
I can't remember, Aaron, there was a conversation we had in an episode, I don't know, a handful of episodes ago, where we were talking about, it kind of speaks to that, Martin, about the cycle of A's, but like you can't not being attached to the result. Like you have to have it over here in your peripheral. Cause you were
Right.
talking about your agents on your team and how their production had gone up, what, 206% or something, 260%.
260.
And the only difference you could say is like they were practicing mindfulness and meditation. There was but you can't go into meditation and say, I'm going to meditate so that I can increase my production 260%. You go into meditation to just be present, but then over here in the peripheral, not being attached to it, not doing it in order to.
Well,
Yeah.
I think that comes down to, what we were talking about last week when I talked about, about the river and the sea.
Yeah.
About all things, the default. This again, Martin, this is something that came to me, download.
Just be careful when you're saying the river and the sea these days.
I
Okay?
understand, Martin. Yeah, I hear you. Yes. Yeah, thank you. So,
I'm sorry.
no, I get it. But all things as a default, their base level is a striving to growth. They're everything by default. The river is just headed to the sea. It's just on its way. It doesn't need any sort of push. You can't push the river if you wanted to. It's good. That's actually the metaphor even gets stronger when you look at it from that way. So the river is by default headed to the sea. It's going that way. Your job is to remove the blockages, the dams, anything in its way. And if whatever's in its way, it's going to wear down anyway because it's a river and it will wear down stone. Let's look at the Grand Canyon. So it's going to do it. So the agents on the team that sit for meditation aren't there. They don't need to be there to get a 260% increase, whether they are there for that or not. By default, if they just shut the fuck up, they're in that direction anyway. Everything points to growth. Roots go down, leaves go up.
Yeah.
They'll go around things. They'll break through sidewalks. They'll do whatever they need to do to grow to life. Life finds a way, to quote Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park. It will find a way, right? It will just work itself out. So you don't need any extra intentionality, whether or not. And in fact, getting attached to it, trying to push the river isn't useful. It's counterproductive. You're wasting energy. You're doing things and you're trying to add things that don't need to happen. Your job is to get things out of the way. And that's, what meditation provides. That's what mindfulness is. It's a chance to settle. This is what my feet feel like on the floor. I can feel my feet on the floor. I can feel my ass in the chair.
Right.
Okay, I'm here. Now that I'm here, I don't have all this shit in my way because I'm just here. And all this shit's not here. What's here is my ass is in the chair. My feet are on the floor. Now what's the next action?
Right. And that's what people miss is sitting in the chair is acting to your cycle of A's, Martin. Like to sit in some people think, oh, but I'm just sitting. I should be doing 75 hard. No, like sitting
That's right.
is the action. And
Don't
it is
just do
getting the
something,
obstacle out of the way.
there.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. That's right. Yeah. Well played.
The school I went to, the coaching school I went to, his name is Bruce Schneider, is the head of it, and he says, "Don't do something. Don't just do something. Sit there. Stay there." And he has a course that finishes at the end of it. It's called the Law of Being, not the Law of Doing, the Law of Being. Don't just do, be.
Yeah, love that. So
Great.
good. Well, I think that's probably a good place to end. We could keep going, but God, it's so good, man. It's so many places you can go in this. Speaks to, by the way, Aaron, like the value of having a space to keep exploring this. Like there is never a day in your life, the rest of your life, that you'd ever have this all figured out. Like there is just the practice of sitting in the tension of the paradox of,
That's right.
Yeah.
what does acting look like, and where does mindfulness fit in? And some days I feel like I should do 75 hard, and other days I want to be easy with myself. And that tension, I don't know, ever goes away until you ascend back to consciousness. So I love that you and I have the Mindful CEO Mastermind space. Those of you who have gone through the 9-week Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World program with Aaron, that is once you move through that, it's a great place to end up because it's where we get to practice that collectively on a weekly basis and just show up and be celebrated for the actions that you take. But now enough about that. Martin, if people want to learn more about the work that you do in your coaching, like how can they learn more about it? Where can they go?
Well, I've made it very simple. How about connectwithmartin.com?
Oh my God.
Nice.
But you go there, you
Great.
can find out about my book. I actually also came out with a card deck, which is like
Oh, isn't that
a
great?
short version of the book. You know,
Nice.
you can find out how to have a call with me, even if it's just to run something through. I'm not trying to sell everybody because we're not all meant to be working with each other.
Right.
But you don't know that if you don't have a conversation with
That's
somebody.
right.
And then there's freebies they can get just the cycle of A's.
Yeah.
They can download that and find out about that. And
Right.
a bunch of
Love
other
that.
stuff. And they could also sign up for my 4-hour intensive workshop that I explain my entire program. It's
Nice.
$27, and that $27 goes to a charity.
Cool.
Excellent.
Yeah.
So great. Connect with Martin. I'll put that in the connectwithmartin.com. I'll put that in the show notes for you guys if you just want to click on that link. Aaron, when's your next How to Live a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World?
It starts June 4th, so it'll probably be out before this show is aired. So if you happen to hear it, go either way, whatever you hear it.
Yeah.
If you're, if you're in real estate, go to therealtorsedge.com and you can see when the next How to Live a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up Industry is starting. And if you're not in real estate, and you can go to The Grateful Breath and find out when the next How to Live a Grateful Life in a Fucked Up World is starting, and
Get on the wait list. Yeah.
get on the wait list.
Yeah. Beautiful. I'll put those links in the show notes as well. Yeah. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, feel free to subscribe to the channel for upcoming videos or like the video, please. And if you are listening on a podcast directory, leave us a review because that does us a solid. All right, friends. Thanks for hanging out here. Until next time. Peace.
Thanks.